Okay, awesome. We're going to talk about culture, what that is exactly, and how can we attain that using great leadership. What is culture? All right, that's probably something you have a vague idea about, but culture is described in this book called Nuts about Southwest Airlines, is one of the most precious things a company has. So you must work harder at it than anything else. Well, what the heck is it? Here's another really long definition that God knows if you can even recall or understand. Culture is a glue that holds our organization together. It encompasses beliefs, expectations, norms, rituals, communication patterns, symbols, heroes, and reward structures. Culture is not about magic formulas and secret plans. It is a combination of 1,000 things. This is the raison d'etre. This is the ethos, the culture that permeates everything. I guess I can't use a word to define it. There's a great 2 books, Built to Last and Good to Great, and we've heard Susan reference that. There's a shorter article that's fantastic about vision. I'm not talking too much this morning about vision, but I can send you this article if you need to, if you would like to read this. There's a good saying in here, which is, listen to people in truly great companies talk about their achievements. You'll hear little about earnings per share. Culture is the underlying reason why you get up in the morning and you go to work and you stay at that place. This is the article. It's articulating that vision. There's 2 components, a core ideology and an envisioned future. We're going to focus entirely on the first part for the first part of this lecture, which is really understanding what core values and core purposes for your company. The core values embodied in our credo, this is by the CEO for Johnson & Johnson, might be a competitive advantage, but that is not why we have them. We have them because they define for us what we stand for. And we would hold them even if they became a competitive disadvantage in certain situations. So you have to understand, these are not, hey, you know what, it's not a marketing idea, we're going to grow this certain amount. That's not what core values is about. The question is, do you know what your core values are for your company? You should have about 3 to 5 of them, not 20, not 10, but 3 to 5. What mine are is employees really come first. This is like Southwest Airlines, and there's 2 things about that. We have fun every day, and we grow every day at work. Everyone grows every day. The key with this also is the respect that I accord my staff is the same respect that my staff accords my patients. And the key with this is the way that I deliver that message is that every patient gets treated like a customer and not like a dollar sign. I do not see them as a money sign, and I will deny them services if I think it's going to hurt them or waste their money. The other thing is coming to meetings like this and constantly getting better. We're focused on always being better and getting better than what we can be. I have a mission statement. Is it a mission statement posted, or is it one that's breathed into our existence? It's breathed into our existence, and what is it? Now, it sounds arrogant, I don't mean this way, but it's easy for my staff to remember this, and if you want to call my office, I think they'll be able to answer it because I've drilled this into them every week. It's my name. Serve always mentality, SAM. That means putting that customer first and being able to be a servant leader for the customer, and understand that when, as Susan said, you should be able to feel my staff when you call. You should be able to feel my staff when you walk through the doors. But it's not just about the customer. It's about the people that work there. And what is that? It means, look, hey, we're selfish people. It's always what's in it for me? And it's about laughing every day, coming to work and having fun. Sometimes I play some Comedy Central. I mean, I want my staff to just absolutely just have a blast. Every single day they got to have fun. We're joking and laughing. Achieve every day. On the Maslow triangle, we have to be higher than we were the day before. So achieve. And finally, and this is something I learned from Ed Williams, who is my mentor, and Susan is my mentor, is to mentor someone else and mentor the next person next to you on that team. So the first part is about the customer, but the second half is about us. What is a core purpose that we have? This is mine: to help people gain a better self-worth, self-identity, and confidence in themselves through passionate and serious drive to be the best in cosmetic facial enhancement, hair restoration, and wellness in the industry. The key with that is the first 3 words: to help people. If I'm hurting someone, if I'm wasting their money, if I'm doing something that's not right, that's a serious problem. My staff knows that the first line is when a patient walks through the door, that we're in alignment to help that person, whatever it may be. Sometimes it's just psychology, sitting down and going, look, you don't need plastic surgery. And they know that I'll deny services. They'll know that my core value and my core purpose is to look forward and help. So exercise for you guys to take home here, and I'll remind you at the end, is define your core values. Define your core purpose. It should be one single core purpose. And the question is, can your staff articulate your vision? Can they articulate your core values and your core purpose? And can your patients do the same? That's a challenge to you. I was at a meeting last year in Austin, and there was a great speaker, Ken Blanchard, and his son, Scott Blanchard, and he put a challenge out to the audience. He said, what do you think is a single most important factor that leads one to success? And we had a lot of answers. We had confidence, we had, integrity, we had a great vision. But it really is about the ability to build and leverage networks. It's about taking great teams together, as Susan was talking about, and pulling them together. That's leveraging that. You heard that earlier in the last lecture. It's not just about yourself and trying to micromanage and take everything. And what is that about? It's about great leadership. This talk, the core of it is leadership, to drive it. You heard it from Susan. It starts from the top and comes down. It must be the core value. What is this first thing? It's the leader buy-in. A lot of times we're so focused on our vision, we forget about ourselves. Winners believe only in winners. And if you don't have the characters to sustain a practice and to be who you need to be as a leader, if your moral and integrity and your vision is compromised, if you don't have a fundamental leader buy-in, your staff can't look you in the eyes and be proud of who they're working with, as Susan was talking about. That is a serious fundamental problem. You can't have a vision at that point. A vision is inconsequential. So there's something that I learned from Ed Williams. I have never seen that man get angry. I've seen him in the operating room. There's a problem. He doesn't blame the person working next to him. He blames himself. That's character. And I'll tell you that if you can't control yourself, you can't control anyone else. You can't have the impact on other people if fundamentally you yourself can't control yourself. And be one of the staff. That's really, really critical, is be a part of them. Don't be separate. Mentorship. What Ed taught me is you can't motivate someone. You can only inspire them. It's true. You got to get the right people on the bus. Get the right people that can be inspired. Not just out there saying, hey, you know what? Hey, you got to do this. This is, hey, look at this. No. It's about, hey, here's who I am. This is what I stand for. This is what I love and I'm passionate about. And that rubs off. And that's inspiration. And that is so important, is that I was never a leader. I was born in I was raised in Texas as an Asian person, and I had a lot of racism in the 80s. I'm not looking back at that time, but I want you to understand one simple thing. I didn't feel empowered. I felt empowered at the age of 32 or 33 when I joined Ed's practice. He changed the way that I see the world. So if you can find a mentor, fantastic. If you can become one, even better. There's a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and specifically the cash flow quadrant, which is listening to how someone sees the world. There are 4 elements to this. There's the business person, who hires smarter people than themselves around them, and the self-employed, which is really what most surgeons are, which is I can do it better, I will work harder, and therefore I deserve more income. And then you can also hear the employee, which is fine, which is job security and benefits. And so you need to listen to the language and appeal to them. We're going to talk a little bit about neuro-linguistic programming in a moment. And then the investor. After that, disposable income becomes part of that financial package, then it becomes invested out. I always say I'm a little B and a little bit S. I don't know what that means. But it's really about hiring smarter people around you, but also being competent to do your work. And the staff, you heard this already. Get the right people on the bus. This is fundamental. Fundamental there. And you know what? If you don't get the right people on the bus, it's the leader's fault. You chose them, but it's no big deal. Move on. Servant leadership. Are you the kind of leader, when you think about leadership, you are controlled by your arrogance? Are you controlled by who you think you should be? The key with this is that leaders don't train followers. They train other leaders. The key thing is, when I started with Ed Williams the first day, I said, oh, I'm a control freak. And Ed said, you're not going to succeed. And he's right. Because the fundamental thing is that we can't micromanage another person. They won't stay with us. There's a saying, you join a company, you leave a manager. And that's absolutely true. You have to create leaders around you so that you don't have to lead them. You work together as a team. And I'll tell you one thing. If you're smart enough, you're going to hire smarter people. You're not going to hire someone stupid that's a yes person that's going to follow you like a blind sheep. There's a law of expectations. The key there's a book called The Finer Points of Business by Professor Feiner out of Columbia University. And the idea is, if you expect your staff to fail, they will fail. If you expect your staff to succeed, they will succeed. I use the words I expect. If you ask me, how do I do it? I say, I expect this of you because I know you can. So I give them the law of expectations. There is something else, is remember, what is the reason they get up to work? Is it for a paycheck? No. Yeah, that's how they feed their family. That's how they, maybe pick you or whatever, I don't know. But they stay with you because of fundamental passion for what you do. You need to be able to have that passion delivered forward. And what is that? It's the idea that every day that you come to work, do I look at cosmetic surgery as a triviality? If I look at it as a triviality, they will look at it as a triviality. I look at it as the core value of why I live, breathe, eat, and sleep. And if that's silly to you, if you laugh at that, then you're in the wrong business, you're in the wrong place. But they know that how much passion I deliver for plastic surgery. It's an absolute core value for me. And every day they feel like instead of cutting stones, they're taking those stones and building a cathedral. Why does FedEx succeed? Why are they on time? The reason they're on time is the simple fact that they've been instilled by their leader that inside that package could be a business deal that's worth $5 million that must be closed tomorrow. There's a heart in there that must be transplanted so someone doesn't die. They're instilled with the core value that what they're doing is important. That's very, very important. It's not just about your importance as everyone else. And I already talked about Ed. I really, really don't like to be arrogant and say everything comes from me. It's about humbling myself to look for people that came before me, that have really inspired me. It's about respecting staff time. If a staff, we wrote it, I learned from Ed, we wrote it in a chapter of a book that we wrote. And if a staff has to be late every morning, well, is it fundamentally a problem? What is it? Maybe they've got kids they got to pick up. If they're worth it, restructure the schedule for them. And keep regular business hours so you can keep your staff. It's so critical. Don't be working till 9 or 10 p.m. Don't lose sight of their personal life. And don't ask them to do something that you wouldn't do yourself. Setting the table. I was in New York for many years and I love food. Probably you can see that. But the idea is, Danny Meyer said you can teach someone, he's a great restaurateur and a business entrepreneur, you can teach someone how to set a table, you can't teach them how to care about setting that table. So remember, get the right people on the bus. He hires on 51% emotion and 49% on talent. That core ethos, that feeling that Susan was talking about must be there. Cultures of excellence. I'm part of an organization called EO. I'll talk to you more about it in a moment. But Stephen Piles is a great restaurateur in Dallas, and he gave a lecture to us, and he said, everything's been done. There's been chicken, pork, steak, everything out there. So what the heck do I get to, why do I get up in the morning? To make some chicken? The reason he gets up is that there's something out there, there's something special. He goes around the world to find that special thing, to make what he does different. And that's why I go to 14 to 16 meetings a year, so I can stay ahead of the game. Look for that pearl. A great mind says, I got one pearl out of this meeting. A poor mind says, I wasted 4 days of my life. You never waste that. Depends on your attitude. Teachability. If you're green, you're growing. If you're ripe, you're rotting. We should always be in a growth phase. I don't care if we're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. We're always in a growth phase. And so don't think you know everything. If you think I'm coming from a point of arrogance up here, I'm not. I have a lot to learn, and you'll hear that at the end. We always need to learn. Our staff needs to learn from ourselves. We need to learn from them. Everything needs to be in a point of position where we can learn. The reason I'm here is not just to teach, it's to be educated. It's to learn and be out there and figure out how can I be better tomorrow. I love Craig Reed. He's no longer with Dallas, and he was also a lecturer at EO. The Entrepreneur Organization is something I'm extremely proud of. It's an organization I'm affiliated with where we basically get together once a month and listen to a great speaker, and then we get together once a month on a separate occasion where we go through business ideas, and it's 100% confidentiality behind closed doors. I got Ed part of that now, and it is something that I'm very, very proud of. That Craig Reed talked about 80% going to the patient or going to the client. 20% must be fed back to the staff. We're so focused on customer service, we forget the staff. It is better to be loved than be feared, unlike Machiavelli's quote. And what Craig Reed did is he shaked 100 hands before he sat down at his desk every day. Now, I don't have time to do that, but some of you know I have a 27,000 square foot building where I've got multiple components of that business, some of which I own, some of which I lease. If I have 5 minutes, a patient doesn't show up, you know what I do? I go shake hands. I go and instill the culture in the entire building because my culture is set. The culture in the building is in flux. I've hired the right people to hire the right people, but I've also got to go back and reinforce that culture. So I'm out there pressing flesh every single day to my building. Look for ways to take care of your staff. I don't want to tell you all the things I've done for my staff since it's being recorded, but I've done a lot of little things that are well beyond bonuses and well beyond just taking care of them financially. It's about a lot of things. And this is really, really core. The idea also is, like what Craig Reed said, he was outside one day and the doorman, who's been with him for about 20-some years, was freezing. He forgot his jacket. He said, "This is perfect. I'm going to go buy out of my own money a down coat for him from the. And guess what happens when that gentleman wears that coat every single day? How much passion does he have for his leader? How much passion does he have for his job? Look for ways to take care of your staff. Don't let them hurt. That's really, really critical. The other thing is we get so focused on people's weaknesses that we don't see their strengths. Focus on their strengths. We all have weaknesses. We can all, and push them into the right positions. You heard that earlier. That's so very, very important. This is a great book. It's Your Ship. There's a subsequent book. It's Our Ship. I haven't read that one. Mike Abrashoff, great speaker as well. The leader sets the mood. I sometimes have a problem with this. I try to remember this. I get to work and I'm sort of in a grumpy mood. That feeling that Susan was talking about, everything goes down with me. So I've got to get myself out of there so that I don't hurt the whole ship. Know every name. Do you know every staff member's name? Do you know every staff member's spouse's name? Do you know every staff member's children's name? Do you know every staff member's dog's names and cat's name? You laugh? I do. And here's what I do, is what my staff, they're not only required to know my name and my family's name, they need to know everyone's. And my retreat exercise for this year, I'm talking about retreats in a moment, is to bring all their photos of all their families so we know everyone. We need to get to each other's core, which lies beyond the focus of just business. Inspire ownership through pride in their work. If I show no pride in what I do, if I'm sloppy in my closures and I'm looking for the easy exit, it all trickles down. You know what rolls downhill. Care and connect. A lot of times the XY chromosome is plagued with inability to care and connect. If you are one, try to get out of that mode. I'm trying every day. Establish an emotional connection. It is important that if you don't respect your staff, they won't respect you. If you care about them, you care about their personal life. We talked about some ideas earlier. There's the core. Mirroring, synchrony, congruity. NLP. If you haven't read some neurolinguistic programming, you should. I have gotten to be much more kinesthetic, which is really by feel. I can feel something's wrong. I'm much more intuitive than I am intellectual at some core. And really respond to that person based on their outlook on the world. You can hear the way that they talk and the way that they present themselves. I'm not going to get too much in that. I just challenge you to do some research on that yourself. There's not enough time. I thought I had 40 minutes, so I'm staying on time. Have fun and win. Make sure your staff is doing what they love. Make the environment fun. It's so important. I joke all the time. I just have a great time. And share that winning spirit. Every great before and after, every testimonial, every mission, everything we have out there, they get to watch. And this book, Made to Stick, is great because stories stick. To be honest with you, you're going to remember 2% of what I said today, if I'm lucky. But stories, things I may have told you about people's lives. You may have remembered the coat that Craig Reed did, what I talked about earlier. Stories stick. So I bring my staff into alignment with me by telling them stories of transformation. Not just their transformation for my patients. What have we done and impacted on that life? That's so important. Telling stories. We're storytellers. You know, you heard this book, The Secret. Look forward. If we walk to work every day with negativity, we're going to capture that negativity. We're going to attract it to ourselves. Look forward toward positivity. And that's so important. Visualize it. And you know what the other thing is? Be grateful. I mean, we have a lot. Even if someone's sick in the family, we have a lot. My father went through a hell of a lot in his lifetime. But we have a lot. And he always looked bright. He always looked forward. And that's so important, how our attitude. Ken Blanchard's amazing. This book is fantastic, Leading at a Higher Level. If you work for an eagle, you'll soar. If you work for a duck, guess what's going to happen? You're going to quack. So the Nordies, okay? You're the eagle or the duck. Ask yourself which one you are. Praise progress. There's something called the cult of knowledge. If you're way in advance, you've been in this practice so long, you can't even remember how to start, let that person fail. It's okay. They may not understand. I mean, if you don't give them that embrace, they won't progress and they won't succeed. If you plan the battle, you won't battle the plan. Let them plan the battle. Principle 5, the Toyota Way, which is the idea that every level from top to bottom must be able to put the stop button on quality. The key is your staff so scared of you that they won't put the stop button because they can't tell you something that's a fundamental problem? That's the question. I'm not going to get too much, so let's move forward here. Website. My staff is critical of me. I've got everything about them. I got candid photographs, video intros of them, what it means for them to work in my place, big polished photographs, not these tiny little doodads in the corner of something. I've got photos about occupying half the page because I want my patients to understand, I want my staff to understand they're core to me. Everything about them, they're core to me. And I do an annual retreat. We went to Cancun last year. You don't have to go crazy like that. But what did we do during that weekend? Was it just all fun? Well, most of it was, but there was a small part of it where we focused on personal growth. The idea is that we didn't talk about business strategies, how to win and how to do this. We said, hey, who are you? And how can you get better? We did a thing called Lifeline. If you haven't done this, be careful. It's dangerous. A lifeline basically is a 15-minute time where you open your core. You say, these are the 3 best things in my life and these are the 3 tragedies. And we cried. You know who opened it? I opened it. If you can't open it with openness, and you ask some guy that's going to be closed, the whole session is closed. But I opened the lifeline, and I cried. I opened it. And the idea is, hey, look, if I'm put myself in a vulnerable position, you can too. It's very, very important. So it's about celebration. And Southwest Airlines, they not only celebrate, like going to the golf course, they celebrate and they record that celebration. So the celebration is something so important. Birthdays are recorded on my website. All little events in their life, things that we do, you know, the birth of a child. It's all about celebrate. And not only just celebrate their lives, celebrate your successes. You know, as I said, when I have a great before and after, everything stops. All staff gets pulled over to look at it. And then the patient talks about how that event changed that person's life. There's a core reinforcement of the mission on a daily basis. That's so, so important. Emotional intelligence, this is an important thing. We all think we're smart people, right? But the key is, are we really smart in our heart? And followers will instinctively fall behind a natural leader. They're not going to fall behind just a touted titular leader. They're going to follow behind someone that actually inspires leadership. If you have no one following you, I hate to tell you, you're not a leader, okay? I just said this earlier, so I'm going to move forward with this. We're almost done. How to become a leader. I love public speaking. You think I was always this comfortable? You know, the first time I had to do it real, I've done it for so many years, was I was with Ed. Susan called me up and said, hey, Sam, you know what? Ed's sick again. Yeah. You got 2 hours to give his talk, right? Remember that? I was on the Stairmaster at the gym, and I said, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. I'm not going to give this talk. I went up there, I had no notes, no preparation. I was scared crapless, and I started to talk, and halfway through I said, this is pretty easy. The lie is public speaking is easy. It's not. But after a while, it becomes excruciatingly easy. The first time is not easy. Anyone tells you the first time was easy, they're lying to you. Join Toastmasters, get out there, and it will give you an incredible confidence, an incredible vision to formulate your ideas in front of a public. And really, this is something that sounds childish, but it's not. It's no, understand and love people. I love people. I love talking to any of you afterwards. I love people. These are some reading materials. You don't have to, I know you're going to have to write everything down, but if you want to ask me some things, Blink is great. Just means, look, go by that gut. Nuts, fantastic book about why Southwest Airlines is so fantastic. It's your ship I talked about earlier. I love this book, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. If you're going to read a leadership book, I love this. Maxwell's got about 50 of them. This one's the one to read. It's fantastic. And Ken Blanchard's Leading at a Higher Level. If you didn't get all this down, I can talk to you in a second. I'm almost done, Susan. I know I got about a minute. The idea, I was at the Botox Allergan meeting, and they said, I was listening to the President Robert Grant, and he said he went to Israel, and he asked Shimon Peres, 85 years old, leader of Israel in the past and the present, he said, what are you most proud of? And Peres looked back at him and he said, I'm the most proud that I've never looked back. That's pretty amazing for an 85-year-old. I understand one thing. If what I've given you today is some resonance, fantastic. And if you feel like you're not there, who cares? We're all a work in progress. Don't look back at your mistakes. Change it and look forward. Exercise reminder, I just put that up one more time because I talked about it earlier. Know your core values and your core purpose and make sure everyone can articulate that. I love this saying. So this has nothing to do with the talk per se, but I've got to say it because I absolutely just love it. Vision without action is only a dream. Action without vision is merely passing time. But vision with action will change the world, and I believe in it. If you don't love what you're doing, stop it. If your staff doesn't love what they're doing, they need to leave. Stop thinking and start feeling. Thank you very much.